I was hoping you could just expand a bit on what it looked like, what it meant for your father to choose being a father as the talent he wanted to cultivate, and then the quality time demanded quantity time. As I think about kids, I don't have any yet. This is of interest to me.
And my dad died 2 years ago. Roughly, he was 89 years old, born in 1930. I actually would start with the point about distraction, because I think it's about more than parenting. Life goes by so quickly, and we let it. And somebody pointed out, might have been Ryan Holiday, I think, you when you're on your deathbed, what would you give for one more day with someone you love? One more ice cream cone, one more sunset. It's really trite, but it's not trite at all, actually. It's incredibly essential to a life well lived. And, there's a beautiful song about it called May I Suggest, which I recommend profoundly as a encouragement to pay attention. And so we often don't, We miss the sunset, or we see it and we're too busy texting, or we eat the ice cream cone and we're talking while we're eating it. We're hardly noticing it's going down. It's compulsive. And I think parenting, but more than parenting, life requires paying attention. And, my dad, I would say my dad was one of the least meditative people who was born in 1930. There weren't that many of them, to be honest. It's a more recent phenomenon. But my dad had zero. I went on 3 silent meditation retreats while he was alive, and he found that utterly bewildering. So he was not a meditator, but he understood somehow that principle about paying attention to what's important. And what was important to him was us, his children and his wife and his family. And as I said, he used to complain. He said, it's terrible. He said, God gave me such a big soul and so little talent. I have so much to say, and I can't say it. He wanted to be a poet. He wrote lots of poems, many of them pretty good. He liked a few of them. And his joke really was, you read the line, but the joke was, he'd like to be a minor American poet. He didn't want to be Robert Frost or a Nassim Nicholas Taleb. He would have been happy to be a quieter person with a couple good poems. And he might have achieved that if he had devoted himself to that craft, but he instead devoted himself to us. One of my favorite things about my dad, when we had our kids, and I'd say, Dad, you want to read a story? You want to read a book to one of my kids? He was so disdainful of that. The idea of reading a book that someone else had written was so cheating to him. All of his stories were made up. He told us hundreds of stories, my children, hundreds of stories that he crafted, that he made up. And he could have been, a great children's writer. He could have been maybe a minor American poet, but he spent most of his time with us, his free time.
And does the quality time demanded quantity time is that akin to come up with a few good ideas? You have to come up with a lot of bad ideas. You just have to throw a lot against the wall. What does that mean?
I think for those of us who are ambitious, who have big egos, which is sometimes me, maybe you, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure it's also me.
Right? You can comfort yourself, and I think sometimes fool yourself into saying, well, I don't give friend X, family member Y, situation Z, the trip to the hospital, the going to the funeral. I don't do those things because, those take too much time. I have more important things to do. But when I am with them, it's quality time. I really give them myself. And I think what my dad believed, and I believed or tried to believe as a parent for my 4 kids, is that quality time requires quantity time. You can't just turn it on. You can't just say, okay, let's have a serious conversation. Go. It doesn't work that way. And we understand that about friendship. Most of our friendships take years where we experience things together, do things together, have intense conversations. And the nth one, the last one, the next one is building on all of that. And the idea that you can just say, okay, I'm here for you. And which is, I think, the modern impulse. And it's good. It's not bad. It's good to be here for people. But I think the quantity time part of it helps us cultivate that quality time, get the hang of it. And it's certainly, I think, I don't know, if you ever spent a long time with somebody on a lazy afternoon, it's just a different experience.